We're here today to talk about real estate.
Welcome to the Real Estate Unlimited podcast. I'm Carrie Steele.
I'm Brian Schuby.
I'm Bill Jones.
And we're the Jones Home Team.
Well, welcome back. This is episode 9 of the Real Estate Unlimited podcast, and we've got a special guest in-house. If you are ever searching anything insurance related, if you're looking around town for somebody as far as involved in a lot of different things, if, charity events, fundraisers, things like that, you're going to find this lady to my left, Miss Nicole Miller, State Farm Insurance. How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. Glad you could join us here today. We'll get back into how to find you and things like that as well. But I did notice here, too, you guys have a ton of Google reviews, but you only have 4.9 stars out of almost 400. So you made somebody mad, 0.9, 0.1.
That is true, but I remember getting my first one that was not exactly a 5-star, and they say you're officially official once you have that first review.
That's not 5.
Yes, it actually did not have anything to do with our office, which was kind of interesting, but you take the good with the bad and you try to learn from those negative ones. We focus on our Google reviews. We get a lot of customers that call the office because they see that we have such high ratings in the Google reviews. So we do.
I mean, that is impressive. I mean, that's a ton.
fantastic.
And yeah, they'll only lose just that little bit then, so just had to give you some jazz then. But so today we are covering, Carrie's going to get into 10 giveaways that you're a rookie real estate agent. Brian's going to look at behind the scenes in real estate, what you don't see an agent doing for you. I'm going to talk a little bit about mortgage rates, things like that, as far as what's happening with that and inventory, supply and demand that's going on. And Nicole, you're obviously talking a little bit of insurance. So yeah. We'll get right into it. Brian, what do you got? Or actually, we'll go to Carrie here. 10 giveaways that you're a rookie real estate agent. What's that looking like?
Yeah, so there are 10 items that have been specifically called out. And I've noticed as I've gained experience that I've done some of these things that I said,
I'm sure we were
preparing for this, I said, I feel targeted. But this is the list. You create and send email home searches, but then never check in. So I think it's important to continue to check in with your buyers and sellers.
Just follow up, right?
Yeah, follow up, stay in touch. Your buyer takes you on a showing after showing situation. So never should you just drive around and not really have any end in sight on what they're looking for.
I think we're all guilty of that.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. You just get excited to get somebody going.
Yeah, it depends on the market too, because if it's a buyer's market, obviously they're going to have a lot more to choose from versus now when you might only have 3 or 4 to choose from. You share other agents' social media pages on your post. And I talked about that earlier. I was like, well, that seems silly because wouldn't you want to drum up business for your office? But I think this point, what they're trying to say is make your own post, create your own leads from those listings, which I personally feel like maybe that's a rip off and reproduce, especially in a small town. But they're saying it's a rookie move.
Yeah,
so.
I don't know how that's. I mean, I think just sharing real estate in general. I mean, if you're in the industry and you're sharing that, I'm not worried about whether it be yours or another competitor's office or whatever. It's just you're putting information out there. But yeah, should you recreate everything for your own, I guess is what they're saying. I don't know.
I've shared some really amazing, like they do those Zillow Gone Wild. I mean, in that case, I have shown and shared other people's stuff, but I think if it's an incredible listing and it's worthy of a share, I'm going to share it regardless.
Absolutely. You might have somebody that's interested in it.
That's
right.
And I think that's another thing where you have to get permission from the other agent then as well, correct, Bill, if it's a different office?
Yeah, I mean, if you're resharing something on social, but I mean, if you're creating your own
you're
post,
not trying to make your own.
Yeah. If somebody else has a listing 123 Main Street and you create your own post to that and it's a different office, then
that's shady,
certainly.
Though. Yeah, because then it looks like you're trying to take their listing.
Yeah, like you're taking credit for it then
Yeah.
versus resharing. So you almost
and
have to
that
do
would
that.
be a rookie move.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
You frequently have negotiations crash and burn at the home inspection. So
Oh, man.
we had one like that, Bill.
That happens at agents a million years in.
We had one for sale, and when the offer came in and it was submitted, they literally checked. I've never seen it before. They checked every single applicable inspection.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I'm talking every single one. Lead, radon. Generally, a general home inspection, right, would be and then if you find something or the inspector finds something that you think maybe,
Sure.
or if it's a country home doing a water test or a sewer test, something like that. But to do every single inspection, and I think the house was solid. So it's like, where did they come from?
So you're
on
just
that?
sabotaging. Well, so Nicole, you've had experience with that then too. We've talked about writing offers and things, and you don't want to put your offer in a bad position. You want to put it in the best light possible. So that's you just want to try to be competitive as much as you can.
And I think as a home buyer that we don't know. I'm buying a house. This is a big decision. It's nerve wracking. So if there's inspections that are going to be done, should I do all of them? So I'm guessing that the person that probably checked all those either didn't know, or somebody else that didn't know said, hey, get all the inspections that you can.
Yeah.
I think now I've bought a couple houses and rentals, and now being in it, I'm a little less concerned depending on the house.
Right.
And when I remember buying my first house, and we did an inspection, and I didn't know the ins and outs. We got the inspection back too late. So once I got the inspection, there were concerns that I had on there. I couldn't even go back and be back in negotiations because the inspector took so long to get back to me that I was out of that time frame. So I paid for the home inspection, but didn't really do me any good because I just didn't understand how.
And that's where I was worried
Yeah.
because this person put in, it was a multiple offer situation, and they checked every single box. And I'm thinking, even if you wanted to do that, you don't have the time to do those. And the seller's not going to wait around for you to do all of those either. So
I think also the atmosphere, like obviously right now, like the houses in Tiffin and Seneca County are going extremely fast. So like you said, it's a time sensitive situation. If you have 10 to choose from and you put in multiple offers and you're not in a hurry and you aren't head over heels for this one, then maybe you can get all of the inspections. But I feel like in the real estate world now, houses that are in demand are selling in 24 hours.
I've
So
And I
just
think
never
that
seen
goes
every
along
single-
with, competing offers. If there's multiple offers, obviously a seller's going to look at inspections as part of the contingencies. And if, one buyer's doing one inspection and the other buyer's doing all of them, obviously, the seller's probably going to lean towards the one who's doing one of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's wild.
Even if money's a little bit lower or something, the seller may be willing to take a little bit less to avoid every inspection being done on their property.
And to Nicole's point, it's not something you would expect the buyer to know what to do with it or not. That's on the agent. So rookie agent or experienced agent too, that does happen. So, and I think part of it too is negotiating after the fact then too. So once you do find something, are you helping manage expectations? Are you kind of getting through that? Are you finding solutions to problems? Or are you just letting it all crash and burn then?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
sorry, we'll hold you up on that one.
No,
This
this is good talk. This is
right.
good talk. That's what we're here for. Your phone shows more incoming calls than outgoing calls to your client. And that goes back to the first one, is like, make sure you're not just, throwing the balls in your court. And, if you have any questions, let me know. It's more of, you should be informing them along the way on what to expect and what's the next step.
Not leave them wondering.
We even do in our office, no updates. Like, hey, I know that you're thinking of me. I'm thinking
You just
of you
sent one
too,
out
but
this
there's
morning, I saw.
nothing-
Yeah,
but
I'll get back to you later.
As soon as I have an update, you'll be the first to know,
Yep.
kind of thing. You let the agent on the other side answer for their client.
So not them consulting with their buyer or seller, then they're making the decision for them. I say a lot of times, have you checked with your client?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it seems like some of the responses we get back are a little bit too fast for
Right.
what the client
They
would
said
respond
no,
with.
or they're not going to do that. Well, can you at least check with them?
Your client gets angry or upset and the deal falls apart frequently.
I think it goes back to the inspections or
Yeah.
anything like that, managing expectations, finding solutions. So
Your business plan includes building your real estate empire on internet leads.
which
That's
I think
a
we're
rookie. I know it says rookie, but I don't know.
all, yeah, I think we're all
don't-
kind of guilty of that.
Yeah, and I think
You
you're
guys
going to
get
have
insurance?
to have
You
that.
guys get leads like
I was
that?
just
Is that-
I was just gonna go there. So we do. There is an opportunity out there in insurance to get internet leads. You can do it on car insurance and home insurance and life insurance. You can do all the things. And I don't think that internet leads can be a bad thing. I think it's a good way to learn and grow. You get a lot
sure.
happening, lots of different responses, people from different areas. You guys are like, we are licensed to sell in the whole state of Ohio.
Yep.
So we do often do internet leads with new people because it gives them a whole bunch of experience. So we can listen to them talk. We can coach them.
Yeah.
We've seen all sorts of things happen on internet leads. And it kind of is a good way for them to get their feet wet. So, we're not opposed to internet leads. So we also do them, and it is kind of good to learn how to do different things and different experiences in a very quick way.
That's a great way to build your pipeline too. So
Yeah.
even if you need the business or not, you keep going with those. You keep, expanding your database and your sphere. So
I know when I
And I mean,
started.
hopefully if you do a good enough job with those individuals, that also turns into referrals from individuals that they may know
Right.
as well, family and friends.
Right.
Yep.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, like, initially when I first started, some of my Zillow leads turned into long-term clients where they're now doing referrals because we had such a good relationship.
And that happens with insurance. People buy houses once every 30 years. I don't know the statistic, but with your insurance, it's continuously changing. So for us, we found when you were doing internet leads, we would continue to work them as guidelines allowed us to. It took us about an average of 18 months once we worked somebody to get them to quote us. So we learned that the more persistent, without being annoying, we actually got them even later on. So we buy them now, and then after they worked them and did all their learning, a year and a half later, the customer's calling back and saying, hey, you sent me a message, or hey, you called me 3 times. We try to be very real with them. We'll even say, hey, if we're going to call you until you answer the phone. So answer us and tell us what's going on. If you're interested, we'd like to help. If not, that's okay too. We just want to be here. And we'll tell people that if they say, hey, we don't want you to call anymore, no problem. We completely understand that. We put notes in there. But if you ever need anything, we want you to know our door is still open. So those internet leads, even though you're starting them now, a year or 2 or 3 may come back and be a very nice win for you.
Yeah, the long term, I think that's the same thing in real estate. We always say, the fortune's in the following up with people continually, and they're not ready to do anything right then and there.
Right.
So, yeah, we'll do the same thing. We'll follow. We would joke lovingly say, you're either going to buy or die is how we're going to let you go then. So eventually going to buy or just tell us to, go somewhere else. So where the sun don't shine.
Well, and then even when you pass, does your family need some sort of insurance, or are they selling the house? I mean, so it
Right.
might even end at buy and die, there's
right.
still
Then
some
that ends up turning
opportunities
into
there.
a
little inside
Sure.
baseball there for you. So,
You don't land the listing. Number 9.
Oh,
Do you show up and throw up?
oh my Lord.
So do you not have a good listing presentation, or maybe you've just never done a listing before? I don't know.
Right. And listings are hard. I don't know
Yeah.
what the hardest thing is selling insurance, but usually the hardest thing to land in real estate is to get the listing because it's very competitive. It's someone's most valuable asset, and you're in competition against a lot of good people. So, yeah, I think you need to have your ducks in a row as far as for what you're presenting and what you're putting out there. Even then, you don't get them all the time. There's sometimes you feel like, oh my, I got this one. And then, nope, someone else's sign is in the yard. So same thing, someone else got the policy. I mean, it happens.
And do you guys ever ask for feedback? We have people that'll say, oh, I actually went someplace else. So we'll,
Right.
continuous improvement is something we really focus on. So I understand
Right.
you went someplace else. Would you mind sharing with us why? And we learn a lot. Maybe the pricing is obviously huge with the insurance, or something else happened. So we ask if the person does tell us they went someplace else, we use that as valuable feedback also, so that way we can grow. What was the reasoning? Can we share it with the team? Is it something that we could do different or better next time? And sometimes it's just they were in the right place at the right time, or like I said, pricing obviously is always a big factor in the insurance world. But we do try to take it if we don't get the deal and find out what we could do differently next time, so that way we
That's
can get
awesome
it.
insight. Yeah, because every now and again you look out and get the one that buys right away, but it's most time going to be some follow up, and it is good to know what you can grow from or what you can learn from and kind of go from there. So.
I mean, even pricing is huge in our industry, Bill. I know we've lost a couple here lately, just people pricing out of what we're, telling them it's worth. We may say, hey, your price is worth this, and another agent may come in and knowing it's not, but just price it high just to get the listing.
Yeah,
and then
buy the listing with the price.
It just sits on the market for 90 days or 100 days or whatever it is.
And that's one of those you hate to tell people I told you so, but sometimes that's what it turns out to be then. So I'm sure insurance could be the same thing. Somebody, I don't know the insurance world, but quote them something with high deductibles or something, so the price seems cheaper, but ultimately it's bad coverage then, or bad advice.
And we tell people that, like, if they current customers or potential customers, they get quotes and say, oh, somebody else was more affordable. Like I'll say, did you check your liability limits? Did you check your coverages? And we're people in the community. So if somebody sends me their leads and says, hey, these are the quotes I got, like I'll be real with them. Like, here's a concern here. This is the deductible I quoted you. This is the deductible they quoted you. Here's your liability limits. Also, this place is 3 hours, south of here. Do you want to be able to walk in the front door if you have a problem and talk to somebody? So, and I'm also very honest. Sometimes they have the same coverages. It's good. And the pricing is off. So, I'll tell them that this is the same coverage. It does look like that price is better. Obviously, we would love to have you here at our office. But if not, we understand that too, and same thing. If they go with the other place, if anything ever changes, we're here, our door is open, we're happy to help. So, and same thing when people leave, they say we found it more affordable someplace else. Perfect. If you want to send me your current coverage that you got with a new place, I'll compare it with your current declaration pages, because I do think it's unfair to give that to somebody and say, here, read this insurance paperwork. You're not a licensed agent. I don't so even as a consumer, wouldn't expect you to be able to read 2 different types of declaration pages and truly understand the ins and outs. So like I said, we are facing people in the community, so we do try to do the right thing for them, even if it is telling them that, yep, that coverage is the same and that pricing is a little bit more affordable.
And that's admirable. I mean,
Yeah.
to be able to
Right.
say, like, we understand that you took your business elsewhere. I had one of those where I went on a listing appointment and they were interviewing like 6 different agents. And I asked for feedback. I said, is there anything I could have done differently to convince you to go with our office? And he said, I knew this girl, she grew up down the street, or she's the local gal or whatever. And so at that point, I'm like, okay, they have a working relationship prior to me even being here. So I think he had his mind made up prior to me even going in, but I think he wanted to just see what else was out there, what was available. So,
and being respectful. If somebody else,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, somebody goes someplace else, like, still treat them with respect. They made a
100%.
decision. You did everything you could for them.
because you're going to be that person on the other end sometime.
Well, and like I said, with insurance, it's continuously evolving. So people are shopping and moving, probably more now than we've ever seen in the history of insurance. So I'm hoping that if I treat you right and do the right thing for you now, and things do go wrong or you're not happy, that you will come back to us. We do try to, keep dignity intact and take care of people, whether they go with our office or not, because like I said, people are always shopping and changing. And we have a lot of people who will come back to us. Or we have people come in and say, my prices went up, and we'll go over it and they'll say, we shopped, okay? And we couldn't find anybody else that was.
It went up. And that's it. You get what you pay for. And we talked about that in the office before, is, something might be a little bit more expensive, but why? What are you getting because that's a little bit more expensive?
Yeah, you absolutely get what you pay for a lot of times. And that's fantastic advice anybody in sales is don't burn those bridges. Don't, well, forget you then, because that person a lot of times comes back around then for sure.
And even the customer service, when people are switching, sometimes they call us and say, hey, we switched, that's fine. We still take very good care of them throughout that, because they, like I said, they will come back. Or they go someplace new and they've called 3 times, and we've had it happen where they've called and said, can I put my insurance back in place? I've called 3 times to make my payment and they're not answering the phone, or I can't get a hold of somebody. So, we do have people in the office. We are very good about answering our phones. We respond to emails within 24 hours. Like, we try very hard to get back with people, because that's something else that hopefully sets our office apart between the next experience that they're going to have.
Yeah, being available. We talk about that all the time in the office, just having your butt in the seat a lot of times, and being available when somebody calls. How many times have we had that in our office? And I went to so-and-so's office 2 or 3 times and nobody's ever there. So,
that's my number 10.
Yeah.
So
sorry. All right. Sorry. I'm
just real
jumping
quick.
the gun here.
No, I want to, because it actually talks about that. So an online search generates only your picture and contact information. So if you don't have a good setup with how people can reach you and how you can correspond, or maybe you text all the time, but they call all the time, or maybe their line of communication is literally a handwritten letter because they're, that generation, then maybe that's the way that you need to respond to it. So
and asking people that too is another thing. What is your
that's really hard
way
to best way to communicate.
And
that's hard to, because if you get into a style of, I always make phone calls, or I always send postcards, but their ideal is they want to meet face to face, or you have to remember that and keep that a priority.
Right.
Yeah, you guys got a fantastic web portal and your app, but I still am like a big dummy and just call and say, okay, what am I doing here? So, and that makes a big difference. It does.
And in the insurance world, I don't know about the real estate world, but being able to call an office and an agent is something that we want you to be able to do, because we don't want our position to ever go away. People can go online and buy insurance. I'm sure they probably go online and buy a house. But we, provide a valuable aspect to that situation. So you calling us is what we want. Yes, the app is there. The website is there. For basic things, sure, you can do those things. But if you have questions or concerns, like, we want to be there. We need to know that our job and our position is always going to be valuable to the company as well. So
you can always find cheaper for sure.
Yeah,
but I mean, is the customer
cheaper
service going to be there? Yeah, both of you talked about the availability, just being local and being close to somebody. That makes a huge difference. So.
And Brian, I see that you're doing great things. I see you winning awards all the time, but every time I drive past, you're always got your butt in the seat. So I think that's a good thing. But I'm like, is he ever showing anything? Because he's always in the office.
He's in and out. And you don't even know
being
he left.
available. Like I say, I think both these two are some of the most available agents you're going to find. Then they're just, someone calls more often than not, you can make it work. Then that makes a huge difference. So, and especially with the houses that move fast, you want to make sure that somebody's going to be there and can get to it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't have 3 days to wait to go see a
right.
house.
It's gone. It's long gone. Yeah.
We expect out of customer service the same with insurance. That's what we would expect out of our agents. So
that's a big thing in our industry. Part-time agents, and is there such thing as a part-time insurance person? I don't know. Is that
yeah,
a thing?
you can do part-time. My office is all staffed full-time because that's what they were all looking for. But yeah, you can do part-time. I think then it becomes having good notes, having everything in there. So if you call and, Debbie part-timer was helping them, that we have all the information that we need, so that way we can take care of you if she's not there. And we, our office does a good job with that. The quotes are there, the notes are there. So if anybody, or if somebody's out sick, we can, if you call and say, hey, I was working with Shelby, I can pull up all of the stuff that she quoted you, and I can quote it. So that way we're still, you're still being taken care of as a customer, even if there is a part-time person.
That's probably a big difference between that and real estate, because the solo agent that's part-time, there's nobody else there to help, or nobody else there to pick up the pieces then a lot of times. So interesting. All right, Carrie, is that list there? So I don't think we burned anybody too bad, and most of that is applicable to, I think any industry really, and as far as for any agent that's, new or experienced or whatever, I think if you let things fall through the crack or don't take care of your people, it's going to show then. So, all right, Brian, well, what do we got here? We got 184 things here. I don't think we're going to go through all of those, but yeah.
I want all 184.
What do you got? So what do real estate agents, this could be a 2-hour episode in and of itself, but what do agents do that is not seen?
Yeah, so I got a couple of links there, Bill, which we can share later, but I just kind of got a couple of, I took it down to, I think, a list of 9 here. So to just kind of start, market analysis. Agents do a great job thoroughly researching comparable properties, analyzing trends, and determining the most competitive listing price to attract buyers, which, again, I think goes back into being a full-time agent. I think helps being able to
being in tune with the market. And
because if you're part-time, obviously you're not as in tune with the market and know exactly what's going on.
Nothing better to say I prepared a CMA for you, and here's 4 or 5 houses. I've literally been in every one of those, or I've sold 3 of these and been in the other 2. So
or instead of, hey, I've never been in this house before or something like that, obviously that doesn't look all that great.
Right.
So
yep.
Number 2 here, agent network, building and leveraging relationships with other realtors to access potential off-market listings or find suitable buyers for a property. So, obviously, again, talking with Nicole here, we're making a relationship with her, and I think that goes a long way with being able to work well with others. Obviously, if you're, with an agent that you maybe isn't as well or in tune with the industry, it makes it hard to work with them or form a relationship.
Yeah, being able to pick up the phone and call another agent that you have a good relationship with makes a huge difference then.
Yeah,
so,
which obviously goes a long way with, again, like with what Carrie said, negotiating inspections. Obviously it's easier to negotiate inspections on behalf of your client for, somebody you're working, used to working with or have a relationship with than somebody you have just no clue. So...
Which leads right into the next one. I'm cheating. I'm looking ahead.
Contract negotiation. Yeah, skillfully negotiating terms and conditions of the contract to benefit their client, including contingencies, closing dates, and repairs. So again, I think that kind of goes right in tune with what we were just talking about.
Yeah, nothing better than to put your client in the best position. You're writing an offer, can call that agent and say, what's the seller looking for? What's going to make not just the price, but time of possession, does that help inspections and.
Yeah, are they looking for earnest money? It goes along with a lot of those different things in the contract then.
Yeah, put your people in the best position.
Paperwork management, handling all necessary legal documents, disclosures, and forms required for a real estate transaction, ensuring accuracy and compliance. And I'm also going to kind of go in with that one, coordinating with mortgage lenders and title companies to facilitate a smooth closing process. So we handle all of those legal documents and all of those documents, and we get those documents to where they, we get those to the lender, we get those to the title company to make sure the process is as smooth for that client as we can get.
And they don't see that in the background.
No.
We call it hurry up and wait, but on our end, papers are flying everywhere and phones are ringing and we're texting and sending emails, but they're just like crickets. Like, when am I going to know something? When are we going to close? And it's like, this is the time where in the beginning of the offer, I said there's going to be a period of wait where it's going to look like nothing's happening and everything is happening. This is when it's going to underwriting. This is when things are getting cleared to close. So
yeah, we're asking the client to schedule inspections, and we're like, hey, this is all you guys need to do. In the meantime, we're getting everything to where it needs to go then.
Yeah, which goes back to your early thing, like the updates, just keeping people in the loop, is just to let you know we're doing X, Y, Z, but you don't have to worry about it at this point. So.
Another one here, staging advice, providing suggestions to sellers on how to present their home to maximize appeal to buyers. And I think it goes along with, obviously the listing appointment. While we're walking through your home, we kind of go through and just, hey, this is what we think you should do, or to help maximize, the profit for you guys as the sellers then.
So not only to make it look good, but then to make it help get through the appraisal and things like that. You know, as an FHA buyer going to come, VA buyer, you know, get that chipping and peeling paint, fix this outlet.
Yeah, or to not to. Like, you don't have to rip your whole kitchen out and make it new. You just need to paint the trim around the door.
Or if somebody has questions of, hey, should I do this or should I not? We can kind of help, you know, get them to help them understand, hey, yes, you should, or hey, I wouldn't waste your money doing that. So
I will say with that, when my grandma passed away and we were trying to sell the house, and the family was like, okay, what do we need to do to, you know, we want to get as much as we can out of it, but we don't want to put money into it if there's not going to be a good return on investment. I think we reached out to you and said, you know, should we be painting the wall? Should we be putting in new carpet? You know, we're going to do X amount of dollars in landscaping. You're like, okay, let me show you what the basics are. Don't spend, if you spend this amount of money, you're not going to get that back in the sale price. So here's some tips that I have that are probably simple and easy to make it look nice, but you don't, you know, put in a lot of money that you're not going to get a return on. So I do think that when we had that house that we listed, you did a good job kind of helping the family understand what we should do and what we shouldn't, which is kind of nice too. Saved us money in the selling process as well.
And I think that kind of, you know, obviously I know we've done this a couple times, Bill. Hey, this is what we could get for your current home and its current condition. If you do X, Y, Z, I think we could maybe get, you know, this, which goes along with what you're saying then.
Right.
And I think last episode we talked about that. Like, a lot of the things don't necessarily turn a positive ROI. You're not going to gut the kitchen and start over. You're going to lose money then. So if it's something you're going to do and increase value, just
change
depends
the
on how likely
hardware,
to be there.
add a rug.
Paint, get the carpets cleaned, whatever. So,
marketing strategy development, creating a targeted marketing plan to reach the right buyers, including online listings, property tours, and social media promotions. So, you know, helping you come up with the right plan to help you get your home sold for as fast and as much as we possibly can then. Staying updated on regulations, which I think is another huge one. Obviously, being a full-time agent, I think it's a little bit easier to stay up to date with those regulations than not, especially with the recent changes that have come in the real estate industry. I think it's very important that you find a right agent that is updated on all of those rules and laws, so that way it puts you as the buyer in the best position possible.
And buyer licensing, we have to stay up. Like, you're working on your CE, you're finishing that up right now. Yeah, you just finished your CE. So, I mean,
all 30 hours.
We're required, you know, a good agent should want to learn more, but, you know, we're required to. I mean, you guys probably have a lot of continuing ed and stuff too, don't you?
Same thing. So we have, I have 2 licenses. We have our property and casualty and our life and health, both require 24 hours of CE. I am also going through my 48 hours and have to have
November
them
birthday.
done.
Girl.
So you guys both have birthdays coming up then.
Yes,
we do.
So.
We'll expect lots of gifts. Thanks, Bill.
Right.
We, and it's kind of annoying that you have to do it every 2 years, but also you do learn some new things, and every time you do it, there's more. Because I do think and I don't know about you guys, but when you're in the field, it's a little bit different than when you're taking your CE, which is like state laws, versus we're learning a little bit more about our company's products when we're in the field and doing things. So it is kind of a pain in the butt, but also good education, also to keep you up to date on the things that are changing. Every time you do that, you learn something that you didn't know before. So I'm always about continuously learning. So I wish it wouldn't be so regulated and, you know, have to have it done by a certain deadline, that always creates some panic, but being able to learn more and continue to grow is always important to staying the best in your field.
Okay, do you get this here? Just a sideline real quick. So in the real estate world, you get the people that have been around forever and they don't want change. They want things to be 20 years ago, just as how it is. Nothing should ever change. I mean, we have tons of it. Is that the insurance world too?
Yeah, because obviously I took over for an agent that retired, and when they did things 20, 30 years ago, it's different now. We want to do, and the other thing is communication. We want to do whatever we can to make sure the customer is happy, whatever their expectations are, but if we don't know what that is, we can't do it.
Right.
I had a customer who had a claim, and they told me later they were upset that I didn't go out there and check out the place, which I was actually...
you personally need to go look at it?
Which is okay. Right. I would have absolutely done that. That's not standard in the insurance world now for the agent to go out. But if they would have said, hey, I want you to come look at this and give me some, you know, ideas or your thoughts, I would have absolutely went, but I didn't know that that's what they wanted. And then I found out later that they were upset. Obviously, we want to do everything we can for our customers, especially when there's a claim, because people panic. They want that voice of reason. They want to know the steps. So we were available by phone, and actually it happened on a Sunday. And I happened to check my email, and I called them on a Sunday, which I thought was going above and beyond, and then found out later that they wanted a little bit more. They wanted me to go. I would have done that. I just didn't know that that was their expectation.
So that's the 5, 10, 20 year ago agent would probably have to go out there and do that.
Is that the 0.1 on your star?
That probably, right.
You should have been out there.
But she would have been. I know Nicole.
Right.
She would have been out there.
Well, if you find out what their expectations are, kind of figure that out. But it's impossible to find out what everybody, especially in the situation.
Yeah, and that's in all industries. And you want that positive, like you don't really want it, but you want that feedback so that you know how to improve it.
Yeah, nobody likes to hear critical things, but I mean, it makes you better.
But that's the only way you're going to get better.
Right.
And increase your value.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like in our world, technology, I think you're talking about technology, the difference between running out there and
Yeah.
leveraging other parts of your business to go do that is better suited for that person to handle. That's their
That's true.
department. We get that with technology, like paperwork and things like that. We get so used to electronic signature and doing that stuff.
Yeah.
And it works great a lot of times, but sometimes people want to sit down and, okay, let's go through line by line. And that's up to us to kind of ferret that out. What do they want? What's their expectations? So.
Yep.
And then I think the last one here I just have is just odd things, odd things that we've done as agents. I know some of the ones that I've done, I've mowed yards for people.
Oh my gosh. We should have prepared for this. I can think of 100 things we've probably done.
Cleaning.
Yeah.
Checking on properties while sellers are out of town. I just had one where I just listed a property and the seller hadn't been there. They live up near Chicago. I went and checked out the property and the hot water heater had leaked, and it was a manufactured home, and they had to call. Luckily, I went right before a showing, and the floor was just absolutely soaked, and they had to call Serve Pro to come in and do a bunch of work to get it all taken care of.
Were they insured with State Farm? Do you know?
I do not know.
Okay, all right.
That happens with us too. We've had things for underwriting come back and be like, you need to cut down, this tree is touching the house.
Yep.
Or, you have buckets in the backyard, and I'll be like, can you, we got old lady who's like, I can't cut the bushes down. I'm like, don't worry, I'll be there. This is what I'm probably gonna get in trouble for, but I'm like, okay, is it okay if I come over and do this? Like unofficially, I'll come over.
Yeah.
We'll bring some hedge trimmers. We'll bring some little clippers. I'll clip it for you, or I've mowed grass. I've cleaned up things in the backyard. Just because sometimes I think it's a weird request. Pick up the buckets that are in your backyard, or there's a tree that's brushing the side of the house. Things that people don't think are a concern, and that the underwriting company is saying we're not going to write you if you don't do these things. So instead of me being like, you got to do this, hey, I'll just come help you. Let me just take care of this. You're gonna get a letter in the mail. I'm gonna come over. I'll help you. So we try to be safe when we do things, but we're not opposed to hopping out there and doing little things for people, so that way they are
That's
able
the
to get
above
approved.
and beyond.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what really is a 5-star.
Kelly, Nicole said she would come. I didn't know you guys offered that. That's amazing.
We
Good to know.
we don't offer
Good to
that.
know.
That's not an
Yeah.
offer.
Oh,
That
okay.
just
All right.
I know. Right?
That's what I
occasionally comes
heard.
into play.
I
We'll
don't know.
help
I
out.
heard
Selective
Brian.
hearing.
He's over here mowing yards.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if I just listed my house forever with you at some ridiculous price, you'd take care of it between then?
Just make the listing agreement 10 years
yeah,
long.
I
so
would
you
say
$2 million.
probably be 25% commission on that.
I'm gonna need to sell my house with house cleaning, please.
Well, and you guys have the truck, which
Right.
I think is kind of like an odd thing. I don't know anybody else locally that has a
that
truck.
offers a moving truck.
Yeah, so that's maybe an odd thing that's not necessarily so odd. It's kind of a nice benefit if people do go with you guys, is that they're able to use the moving truck and save them some money. That.
It's a differentiator for sure. So
But I
cool.
think that's all I got.
Okay, cool. Well, I got where we've been going on here forever here. Good conversation here. I'll touch on this briefly. We haven't had a chance to talk about this a whole lot, and Nicole will be interested to hear your take on it as well. As far as for interest rates, and again, we're not financial advisors, we're not anything else. We're just talking about kind of what's going on, but the demand in housing, the amount of units that have sold, I think everybody's expecting rates to come down. They had the rate cuts not that long ago. I think they're expecting another rate cut, I think, this week, and rates have gone up. So I think they baked in that that rate cut into the market, and subsequently it's still continued to go up. They're still paying high rates on T-bills, which is driving up the mortgage rates. So I think with the election looming, I don't know when this will air necessarily, but probably we're right in that time frame. People are waiting for the election results to come through, interest rates to come down. I'll get into the numbers here then if I can do quite a bit. So what I highlighted here is, though, even though rates have been on recent upswing, they're overall a full percentage point lower than they were a year ago, which a sideline I don't think is doing a whole lot because rates were terrible last year. So they're better than last year, but they're still not fantastic, which has kept some home buyers in the market. For sale inventory has started to loosen, and home price growth has eased in some markets, providing more options for buyers in combinations with these lower rates. So a lot of words just to say, rates maybe be trending down, but I feel like they're still high from what people are used to. And the inventory, I think, is coming up, but isn't maybe not necessarily the stuff that the days on market's increasing quite a bit. The inventory is starting to come up. It's still historically super low, though. So we're currently, I think, nationwide, 1.8 million. I can't find it here handy. I'd have to read through a lot of this, but I think 1.5 million homes for sale, which sounds like a lot, but for a long time we were 700,000 or 800,000 homes across the country, which has been the lowest it's ever been, but it's still historically low. So it's just a mixed bag. There's still a lot of things are pointing towards things should be flying off the shelf, but things just for whatever reason are moving. I don't know what it is. I don't think any of us have the answer.
Well, in that interest rate, I mean, look at that interest rate.
So this was a month ago.
We still talk
it
about
bounced way down.
Oh, not that, but historically, people are still waiting for a 2.5, 3.5%. I just don't think that's going to happen.
No.
Like, it's just.
As a consumer, I feel that. Like, I'm obviously looking for a new house, and the 2.5 that we got, we refinanced our house. I think realistically, we'll never see that again.
Ever again.
And right now with it, I don't know what rates are, 6%. That seems high because we were at the 2 and the 3% 2 or 3 years ago. But like, I remember talking to my parents when they bought their house 30 years ago, their interest rate was 12%.
12.
You know, so I guess that what your expectation is now compares to what you're comparing it to.
Exactly.
Yes, during when we were having a little bit of the COVID, it was down to 2 and 3%. I don't think we'll ever see that in our lifetimes again. So, and as a consumer, that interest rate can't hold me back. If the house that I want to spend, that's going to be my forever home, comes available, we need to just take what we can get now and then work it out later. And who knows, they may go down in the next year. We might have something crazy happen and they skyrocket. So I think, like I said, as a consumer, being able to get the house that you want right now and then being able to either appreciate your rate if they go up or being able to refinance later if they go down, you have options. You're not technically stuck in that forever. So I wouldn't let those rates affect your, one of your biggest decisions of your life.
But that seems to be what a lot of people are doing. They're just waiting to see what they're expecting the 2008 crash again. We're waiting for the bottom of the fallout. They're waiting for rates to come down. We've looked at, my computer's currently on a blink here, but the rates, we looked at this in several episodes ago. To your point, it was we went back 50 years and only one time did it get to that and it was right in the middle of COVID. It's never even come close to that again. So people waiting for the bottom to fall out and 2.5 interest rate,
but 8 to 18%
I don't see it.
Was normal.
And I couldn't imagine like missing out on my dream home because of a % or 2 in interest. Like I said, you can fix that later if rates do drop, but that's not going to hold me back from purchasing our next house. We're house shopping and that's kind of our focus. But I do know that people talk about interest rates a lot.
Oh yeah, a ton. And I was going to show a chart then too, as far as for people waiting on the election, like we talked to with the stock market. Over time, the rate, the price home, your value in your home continues to go up. There's momentary dips, ups and downs, but it doesn't matter who gets elected. It seems like the pricing still is going to continue to rise no matter what. So yeah, if you're waiting for life, there's no point. You got to make life work.
Is there an equal balance? I feel like when rates were extremely low, the value of houses skyrocketed. So yes, I got a great rate if you bought a house in 22, but you probably paid a lot more for the house versus now the house value has come down a little bit, but rates have gone up. So is there an equal, is that like a, is that
well, I think balance? It's going to just further compound people waiting for that. Like, I'm going to wait to buy a house. So when rates drop, that's going to bring a ton more people back into the buy side of the market then. So it's going to continue to drive prices up and it's not going to get any better to wait.
Right. And you got multiple offer situations and sellers markets and
their buying power goes up. So maybe, with rates going up, their purchase powers come down some. And if the rates go down, their ability to borrow more is going to go up. So it's going to exponentially pick up the amount of buyers in the market. So I think and with inventory still being historically low, it's not going to make it any better.
Right.
So I don't know.
When life happens.
Yeah,
it's
literally is what it is.
Is life working for you?
Yeah, if the house is too big, if it's too small,
one
if you're
bathroom
retiring.
and 7 people.
Right. Yeah.
That's what motivated us.
Yeah,
we had 1 bathroom and 7 people. It's time to move.
You got to make life work. And to your point, Nicole, like rates once upon a time were way worse than what they are today, and people still were able to buy and sell a house and make it work. So. All right. Nicole, we have a couple insurance questions here. Brian, you got one ready, or Kara? Not to put you guys on the spot here, but we had, I lost my page.
Is that the front page?
Yeah, maybe. So if we're going into the insurance, well, what's new in the insurance world? Anything crazy or new? We've just had a big change in the real estate side. Anything that's too wild in insurance, or is it kind
I
of the
think
same?
Insurance right now, wild would be a very good word to describe it. I think insurance is a little bit upside down for people. We're experiencing catastrophes more than they've ever experienced before, at least in the country. So that's kind of been devastating for a lot of people. So in Ohio, things have going smoothly, I think. You talked about rates a little bit. People don't realize it, but there's also rates in insurance as well. Obviously, there's increases and decreases. And what most people don't realize is when an insurance company takes an increase or a decrease, that rate that they're taking has to be approved by the state. So insurance is state regulated, just like your rates are regulated by banks. Insurance rates and decreases have to be approved by the state of Ohio. So it's not any one company going out there and saying, hey, I'm just going to pick a random number out there. There is strategy and compliance that has to be met when any company takes a rate increase or decrease. So we are also dealing with rate increase increases as an insurance industry as well. Obviously, most people know that the rate has gone up. Claims are at an all-time high for, like I said, across the state, across the country. So with that comes those rate increases, making sure that we have enough there to take care of customers when something does happen. So obviously, with inflation, insurance is also going up. We did some study in the, if you wrecked your car today versus wrecking it 3 years ago, the price to do the exact same repairs to your car are significantly higher. So in order to cover those costs, we are unfortunately, again, as an industry, taking rate increases. But, we're doing everything we can to make sure that it is slow and steady, and we're still taking care of people. But you want to make sure you have enough money there that if somebody's house does burn down or they do total their car, that we are able to take care of them efficiently.
So it's a lot of things. A lot of people have talked about pricing going up, I think both in home insurance and auto insurance. So you kind of talked, so nationwide, it's kind of, a pool, right? The lack of a better word, then things happen. You guys have to make that coverage good. So the prices go up. And then I recently ran into this. I had a poor deer run out in front of me, and you guys are taking great care of me I couldn't believe the price to fix the car for a deer. I was thinking naively, a couple $100, a couple $1,000. It was substantially more than that. But if the price of everything has gone up.
Yeah, car parts are more expensive. They take longer to get. The people who are fixing the vehicles are making more money now than what they were before. They're dealing with more claims, so they have more traffic going on. So just everything has gone up quite a bit. So like I said, we're doing everything in our power to keep those rates going up as slow as possible. But we still want to make sure that we have enough funds to be able to take care of everybody if something does happen.
It was a very expensive deer hunting expedition.
I have one question that's not on here, but do you have any tips or tricks for buyers and sellers to help get their home insured? So if they have, you talked about somebody that they had a tree touching the side of the house, they wouldn't. Is there something that's very common that a home seller or home buyer can look for when they're looking at getting insurance for a new home?
Or when they're selling their house.
Their home.
We have a house right now that we're working on flipping, and I walked around and I have some concerns because trees touching homes, because they're constantly rubbing back and forth on there, can do damage over time. So that's something that we don't like to see a lot of, is a lot of brush or shrubs or anything touching the house that can cause damage. So that's something, like I said, we're working on a house right now that we're flipping, that I had somebody come in, I was like, I don't want anything touching the house. I know that that's going to cause, when we do sell it, the person that purchases it may have issues with insurance by that. So
bees living in there too.
Yeah,
Yes,
we found a real nice hive of bees. It's been a really fun experience. So obviously we took care of that. But just looking at the home, things that you like, insurance is accidental and unforeseen. If you can look at the house and say, okay, I know this is going to happen. I have a gutter that's hanging off. I know that a heavy rain, that gutter is going to fall, which could cause more problems. Or I have trees that are rubbing against my roof that are going to rub, the shingles. That's going to be you can foresee that that's going to be a problem. That's what insurance companies are looking at, is over time, if we do nothing, is the things that are happening going to cause more issues? If you can foresee it being an issue, that's what they're going to want you to do. A homeowner, their job is to prevent things. Insurance is accidental and unforeseen. But if you think, if I leave this go, I know this problem's going to happen, that's what we're going to want you to maintain as a homeowner to prevent those things from happening.
I've heard people say things like that, if the floor is bagging in or whatever, like, if it collapses, I'll just claim the insurance. And I don't think that's, if you're letting the house deteriorate, that's on you then.
Yeah, so
right?
there's proper maintenance that needs to be done. And again, unforeseen, unexpected are words that I'll use over and over again. Yeah, if you know that you have a drip in your kitchen sink and it's causing your floor in your kitchen to be wet, and it's dripping and it's dripping and it's dripping, what do you think is going to happen? You think the floor in your kitchen is going to fall out. So that's not maintenance. That's not being properly maintained. So you may have some concerns or some problems later if that happens. Your job as the homeowner is to prevent those things. And then if something does happen that you really did not expect, your pipe breaks and your kitchen is flooded. Yeah, like when it's accidental, unforeseen, the pipe breaks and you walk in the door and your kitchen got water all over the place. We all have kind of been there. Those are things that we're going to swoop right in and take care of. We're going to look to make sure that it wasn't soggy, there wasn't mold there wasn't things that you could have been doing to prevent that. It just a fluke thing happened, and then they're going to look to cover that the best that they can.
Yeah. So unforeseen or accidental. So what if I accidentally, just hypothetically,
I'm already nervous
accidentally
for where this is going.
Shot some tannerite in my garage and it blew the windows out? That wouldn't be necessarily accidental. That would be me being an idiot, probably.
Let's just not shoot any tannerite in our field. So, and if we do it, we probably shouldn't post it all over social media for
we
people
were way
to
away
know,
from the house.
To
it was
know
fine.
That we did that.
But,
I know our podcast is probably wrapping up, and we've maybe even gone over, but I can't help but think there's people in Ohio that are also snowbirds or investors in Florida. And one of the big things that's going on right now is, everybody's getting insurance dropped in Florida because of hurricanes and floods. Do you have anything to comment on that?
Like I said, I am only licensed in Ohio. You kind of, as an agent, specialize in those things. So, what do we see a lot in Ohio? We are rated for deer. So I see a lot of deer. I see, we are rated for tornadoes. There's states that don't have tornadoes. So unfortunately, I am not versed enough on what's going on in the state of Ohio in Florida to give a good understanding.
Fair.
I know that there was a catastrophe that happened, and making sure that you have the right coverage on your home for things. I know that was one of the questions in here. A lot of people here don't have earthquake insurance. Okay, so if we had an earthquake, which could happen, crazy things are happening, would you expect your homeowners to cover it? People are going to say yes, but they're not going to offer coverage to something if you don't have that endorsement. Yeah. You can get it. You can get earthquake insurance. And I know another one of the agents in the town that she lived in, nobody had earthquake insurance, and they had an earthquake, and it was devastational. But if you don't have that endorsement or you don't have that coverage, then it's not something the insurance company is legally going to cover. And so, one of the questions here is making sure that you have the correct homeowners insurance. You have to sit down with your agent and talk about those things. What could go wrong? What do you expect your homeowner's policy to cover? And knowing that your home, I would guess, is probably the most expensive thing that you own. I think that's probably pretty common. It's amazing how few people have read their policy, not their declaration page that tells you your basic coverages, but reading your policy. I think when people got homeowners insurance, if they would actually take the time to read it, and it is long, but your homeowner's policy is written so that way you can understand the terminology. So if you would go through there and read that, I think people would be a lot more aware of what is covered and isn't covered, and then they wouldn't panic when they did have a claim because they already know, oh gosh, I sat down with my agent and talked about it, and she asked me about earthquake coverage and I said no. So if an earthquake happens, it's not like, oh, it was them that I know that I don't have coverage because I made that decision not to have that. So reading through your policy, understanding what's covered, what's not, what's the stipulations, what is your deductible.
Yeah, the deductible, like if it's high, low, like I'm saving so much per month, but then it comes time to shell out $5,000 on a claim and you're like, oh my God, I don't have that. Well, that's because you took the cheaper route.
Yeah, and that's okay. Like high deductibles are okay if you understand what that means. And we try not to use terminologies with customers. We try to say, if things happen. So if a tree fell on your house and it did $5,000 worth of damage, would you want us to cover it? If you say yes, then you need your deductible to be lower. If you say no, for something $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, I would just take care of it myself.
Right.
Then you can have that higher deductible. Whatever it is, as long as you're making an educated decision, you understand, yes, I have a higher deductible, but that means if something happens, then I'm paying that amount out of my pocket first. Yep. Yes, I'm saving $50 a month, and that's what we'll say to people. If a tree falls on your house and it's $5,000 and you can save $50 a month, is that worth it to you to save that money? We try to give them that scenario rather than talking deductibles. If that tree falls and you can save $50 a month, is it worth it for you to pay $5,000 out of pocket if something happens?
What's that game? Life or
is that life?
Right. That's I never thought. I'll just call Kelly, double check her policy, see if we have earthquake insurance. So see if Nicole can check into that for us. So note Kelly, remind me of that, please. Thank you.
Yeah, and saying it and doing it are, people always say, oh, I need to stop in. We need to look over that. We need to look over that. You're right. We're here. We want to help, but it's not something that people are like, oh, it's Monday morning. I should call my insurance agent and talk about my insurance. Yeah. We do try to reach out to our customers occasionally and just offer a meeting just to go over things. Have life changed with you? Has things changed in the insurance industry? Just making sure that we have things that are up to date. But I know it's no fun walking into the insurance office and talking about things. But if your house burns down or something happens to it, it's going to be a very devastational day. Are you prepared and know what's going to be covered?
Especially if you've made some of those renovations that have made your home go from a normal to premium or something, or you have furs and diamonds and jewelry or
collections.
Guns or collections.
And that's something I know when people are buying a house, we get a lot. They'll call and they'll say, hey, I'm buying a house, I want the standard coverage. There's no such thing as standard coverage.
No such thing as standard.
You want us to write a policy for to cover
that's
your house for $500,000, but I've never been in that house. The person buying it might have only spent 30 minutes in there. But and if you put a policy in place, go to your closing and then come in, we can always change things afterwards. But we don't know, is the basement finished? You know, is there drywall and carpet down there? Do you have a $50,000 diamond that needs to be insured? Do you have a big giant barn out back that needs to be covered?
Right.
So we don't, you know, typing in your address on the computer, we don't know those things, but being able to sit down and have a conversation that says, tell me about the house, you know, what sticks out. And then, like you said, collections, guns, jewelry, furs, antiques, those have limits on it as to when your homeowners is going to cover them and how much. But what you have them covered for is really up to the customer to say, hey, I have this, I need to make sure that it's covered. So we try to ask people, if you think of like the top 3 most expensive things in your house, what are they? And you know, people are, if they started a TV and my living room set, then I'm like, okay, I'm good. But I try to ask them questions, you know, do you have that antique classic car in the garage that you're working on? Did you have a really valuable diamond that you want separate coverage on? So the basic things are covered, but if you have some of those unique, expensive items, those are sometimes things that you want to list separately. And people don't always know that. So we do try to probe and ask if people are willing to sit down and have that conversation with us and go over those things.
Do you recommend them going through and taking pictures of every room?
Not necessarily. That's not something that we've had to have anybody do. So you can do that. So if something does happen and you have a video of you walking through, not that we're going to need it, so that way you have it. So let's say you did have a total loss and your house burnt down and you had a video of all the things. It would be obviously much easier to go through and replace all those if you had a listing. We're not going to ask for your video, but it is good peace of mind for you. Or if somebody robbed you, or you know, you had a half of the house caught on fire, whatever, at least then you have something. So I do say to people, you take a video, store it on your phone, put it in the cloud, you know, it's going to be there forever. So then if anything does happen, you kind of have a peace of mind that you can go through and just because it's you know, if something like that does happen, your brain's a little fried. So so being able to go in there and just, okay, I have a video of all of my basics, it makes it a little bit more peace of mind for you.
Yeah, you'll have a lot going on then. It's hard to keep track of, I'm sure, what's in there. And you've had some great advice for me then too when we looked at that, like the contents, and no insurance person's ever asked me that as far as like, what do you have in the house, you know, do we need to look at that? And then like Shuby, we'd talk just building. Our cost to build our home years ago versus what it costs to rebuild today is exponentially higher, you know, so that's I think we increase our insurance for that then as well. So
how often would you recommend somebody have their insurance? How often, I guess, reviewed, or how often should they do that?
So I would say every 2 to 3 years you should sit down and meet with the agent, or if something specifically has changed in your life, but also things change in the insurance world too. And then obviously we just went through COVID, and values of cost to rebuild things just went up. You know, it skyrocketed very quickly in a short amount of time. When things like that happen, you know, we had people calling and saying, hey, you know, a 2x4 just doubled in price. Is this something I should be concerned with? And it was, because we were, you know, reevaluating. And I have people who, you know, bought their house in 2006, and then that's the last time they've checked in on their homeowners. Your homeowners does gradually increase a little bit over, like, so if you did it in 2006 and it's 2024, your value of your house is going to slowly go up, but is it enough?
It probably didn't go up enough. I'm
right.
assuming
Yeah. So
it probably didn't go up
and
enough.
Sometimes it's okay. It's a click of a button for us to check, but you know, we want to check. You should check to make sure that, you know, you're not underinsured if something does happen, that you have enough on there to rebuild what you're living in today. Or if you make big changes, what changes should you tell your insurance agent about? If you add square footage to your home, definitely something you should be talking to your agent about. It also depends on the type of coverage. Some people have actual cash value. Some people have a replacement cost. So depending on what coverage you have, also determines when you should be letting your agent know. We say there's no dumb questions, so we always encourage people to call the office. Sometimes we'll say, nope, we don't need to update that. Thanks for letting us know. Sometimes we'll be like, you know, yes, we should know about that. You built a barn, you added on a kitchen, square footage is a big one. If you're adding square footage to your home, then you should definitely be updating it and letting your insurance agent know.
What about ponds and pools?
Yeah, I was scared about that. We put the pool. I'm like, oh man, our insurance is going to go through the roof. But
so I think there are, and it's different with different insurance companies as to what the rules and regulations are. I do think that there are codes like in the city and that you have to meet that are more a worry than the insurance. Every insurance company is different, but if you're in town, you have an in-ground pool, generally they want it to be secured for liability reasons. I'm not aware of anything with ponds. If you're out in the country and you have a pond that we need for liability reasons, but making sure you have liability coverage. If you have a pool or a pond, I definitely recommend at least $1 million in liability coverage on your homeowner's policy. Hopefully you never need it, but if something does happen, that you have something there that the insurance company can take care of you. But again, calling your agent and having that conversation, tell them what they have or what you have, and then listening to their advice. They're
Right.
not just-
Oh my gosh. I think that goes for every industry. We're in the real estate world then too. People look, oh, what should I do? Or, they want a specific answer and you give it to them and they're like, whatever, I'm just not going to do that.
They go do their own thing anyway.
Yeah, they just do whatever then. All right. We could talk all day here then too. This is fantastic information, Nicole. We had some trivia questions from last week. According to recent data, the average return on investment for a home flip. So this would be a good one for you. So what's your guess? So what's the average return on investment for a home flip percentage? So your ROI on a home flip.
I have no idea. There's so many variables that
Right.
go into that.
I don't remember what
5%, 100%. What are you looking for?
I'm looking at 27% is my guess.
Oh man, 27 and a half. 27
Stop
and a
it.
half,
Stop
you
it.
guessed.
I swear I
20,
didn't
were you
say it.
looking?
No, I didn't.
So yeah, on average is $66,000. What's the general, but I think that's like a 250, 300
I was
probably
gonna say,
price
it
point,
depends on the
something like
value,
that.
yeah.
So, but yeah, 27.5% is the average, which is down from last year of 28.1. So it's actually trended down a little bit. So. All right, a couple quick questions here. We like our trivia. What percentage of U.S. homeowners do not have adequate coverage? What percentage of U.S. homeowners do not have adequate
Is that
insurance
just for
coverage?
Nicole?
That's all of us. What percentage? Anybody can jump in there. What percentage of U.S.
I'm going
homeowners
to say
do
73%.
Do not have adequate
Do
coverage,
not have
especially
adequate.
now after now that we had that conversation. I feel more educated now.
So what's your guess?
I'll say 68.
75%.
60%. 60%
Well,
of
that's
homeowners
good.
are underinsured then. So
Makes me feel
according to
better,
the
even though that's not
NAIC, I don't know who the NAIC is, but that's them then. Going back to real estate, so we'll leave this for next week then. So what percentage of new agents leave the real estate industry within their first year? What percentage of agents leave this wonderful business in
All
the
of them.
first
No.
year? Yeah, right. What's your guess?
78%.
That's pretty
I'll
high.
say 50%.
Okay.
62.
All right. Well, you have to tune in next week to find out then. So we'll go from there. But yeah, if you want any more insurance or any more questions on insurance, I can't show you right now, but check Nicole's Facebook page out. You can just Google her. She's going to show up all over the place. Go to any fundraiser. I'm sure you'll run into her or somebody from her team. They will be glad to take care of you and answer any of your questions. So that is episode, was this 9? Tune back in for episode 10 and make sure to like, subscribe, follow, do all the social media things, and we will see you then.